US President Donald Trump has been dealt a blow in his long-running bid to keep his tax returns secret after the Supreme Court ruled his financial records may be examined by prosecutors in New York. In a 7-2 ruling, America's top court sided with New York District Attorney Cyrus Vance, who had served a subpoena on Trump's longtime accounting firm Mazars USA for his tax returns. Vance argued the documents were needed to determine if financial records had been doctored to cover up hush money payments to two women in 2016 who allegedly had affairs with Trump. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the decision that said no citizen, even the president, is exempted from producing evidence in criminal cases. Trump's legal team has argued the commander-in-chief is immune from subpoenas. Well, for more on this, let's go to Jeffrey Tucker, the editorial director at the American Institute for Economic Research. He joins us now from Great Barrington in Massachusetts. Great to have you back with us, Jeffrey. Now, Donald Trump, as we know, has fought quite hard, hasn't he, to keep his tax returns secret. He's the first president since Richard Nixon of the 1970s to keep them secret. How much of a blow is this for President Trump?
It's generally been considered an option for public officials in these kind of cases to keep their tax returns private. So this would be really an unprecedented thing to use force of the state to release these records. And I think Trump is basically correct. This is a political move. I mean, in fact, living in America today, you'd have to be completely blind or something, or naive, not to think that almost everything that pertains to the president and these kinds of things is not driven by politics. So even though I'm not here as a Trump partisan or something like that. There's no question that this is part of a witch hunt, and in some sense very significant because it actually does endanger the financial privacy of every public official and even every public person in America today. This kind of voyeurism is just really designed to go after him and smear him, and it's just part of the continuing war. And I can tell you, living in America today, people get tired of it. Like every day, there's another explosion, either from the right or from the left, from the pro-Trump, anti-Trump. He's made himself the center of the universe, which is maybe what he wanted, but maybe in this case it's not turning out so well for him or for other Americans either.
But surely if this was a true political witch hunt, America's top court wouldn't have sided with New York prosecutors in their demand for the tax returns.
Well, I think in this case, my understanding is that they deferred to New York, but which is not to say that the American public somehow has a right to know. What they're saying is they're turning the decision back to the lower court, and I'm guessing that this litigation that'll continue in course. There's many other levels to go before Trump actually has to release it. I don't think the Supreme Court really said somehow that Americans have the right to see the tax returns of the president. That's not really what they said. What they did is they turned it back to the court and deferred to the lower court. So it's just beginning. It's just beginning, and Trump's going to fight this for years. If he gets reelected, he's going to still be embroiled in this controversy for years to come. It's exhausting and annoying and deeply political, actually.
So we might not actually see these tax returns and get an October surprise.
I doubt it. No, Trump's very clever, and the American legal system is an unbelievable mess, and so it could be tied up in court for years. Yes.
Okay. In a separate decision, though, the court ruled that Congress could not, at least for now, get their hands on Trump's tax returns. Does that decision effectively put a limit on the level of scrutiny that US lawmakers can have on a sitting president?
Well, I don't know. We have really strict financial monitoring and public corruption laws in the U.S. I mean, presidents really can't get away with anything. I mean, every email they send, everything they do financially is looked at, and Trump has been the most examined, looked at, pressed upon president really in the history of the world, especially in this digital age. So, we have a lot of things to prevent that kind of public corruption. So, I don't know that it's necessary for Congress to actually examine these tax returns, and I think Trump's right in his intuition here that that he has at least as a private individual, which is what this is really about, an expectation of some level of financial privacy, which actually is one of the few elements of privacy we have left in America. I mean, the government, the public does not have a right to see my private tax returns. And it's true that sometimes these things are leaked and they get out, but generally we try to protect financial privacy in this country, and that's really all Trump's really asking for. And by the way, when I say these things, that puts me in a very uncomfortable position because, again, I'm not a Trump partisan. What I am a partisan of is privacy and fairness and decency, and I'm against using the power of the state in these kind of political witch hunts.
Jeff, I hate to interrupt, but we're running out of time. But in this case, it's not about a political witch hunt, though. The New York authorities actually want to look into a criminal investigation, and the Supreme Court justices have said that no one is above the law, including the president. So shouldn't the president assist in any criminal investigation, in this case, the one involving hush money payments paid to two women?
Yeah. Well, the details of the case make it possible for the courts to say these kinds of things, but these things are actually quite contentious, and I think it's what I would say. Well, I would just call it a very clever political move. This is not what you would consider to be conventional justice. These kinds of issues here are typically civil issues, not typically criminal ones. So I would say this is all part. And look, Trump can be paranoid. I think in this case he's not. He's actually smells a rat. Yeah.
Okay, Jeffrey Tucker in Massachusetts, thank you as always for joining us on the program.
My pleasure. Thank you.